The fact that Nigeria is terribly divided, and I think we can all agree on that. So we thought that the manifestos should have emphasized a lot more about the how-tos, not just that we will. See, a lot of the manifestos say we will, we shall. There are three things I think necessary to deal with the instability, the insurrection, the banditry, the kidnappings, is to remember what Bola Ige said a long time ago, that unless we deal with the political arrangements that Nigerians agree to, we will never have peace. So that I thought was I needed to flag that as a very important consideration that seems to be missing in the presentations of the candidates. Three things I think should be done. First, there's a lot of talk. A bit of it is now going away, but the underlying current suggests that the illegitimacy of the Constitution remains a problem. The Constitution was given to us, bequeathed by the military, and there's a very strong feeling, particularly among the nationalities, Fenifere, Ohanese, and the like, that you can't get this thing right unless you go to the issue of the Constitution. So I think I will encourage the candidates to look at that. Second would be obviously the issue of restructuring. I like to use a neutral word, which Professor Nwabeze uses, balanced federation or devolution of powers. And again, the candidates didn't quite stress this. What it simply means is we have a centrifugal government in Abuja doing far too many things. So just distribute the powers. So that's number two on the political side. Three is the absence of local government. It's a big, big gap. No candidate refers to it. I thought it's important for us to know, because the local governments deal with 90% of the population of Nigeria. So we need to know what exactly are these local governments. Okay, they're guaranteed by Section 7 of the Constitution. But other than that, what exactly would the president in 2023 do in relation to the local governments? Because I believe that on the principle of subsidiarity, that is doing it at the grassroots, the local governments should be catching the attention of our presidential candidates. Zero attention, nobody mentions it. So I just thought we should flag it and say that this is something that they ought to be absolutely concerned about. Aside. On the economic side, I don't have to tell you that Nigeria is in a great misshape. Nigeria is not doing well. Economic policy, again, if I look at the manifestos, not all. A lot of the candidates touch it. But I think they touch it missing some of the crucial gaps. For the first thing you do when you are discussing the economy is to set a context. So I will advise the candidates to set a context. And the first would be exactly what type of economy do you want to run? So you would find in UK, Labour is clear, Conservatives clear. Here it's not clear when you read the manifestos. So you can either have a party that wants to push, for what we call the markets, or candidates who want to push state capitalism. So left or right. That I think I would urge the parties to sort of like review. That's one. Two is the fact that economic policy must understand the linkages. So in economic policy, you have 5 crucial linkages. You have the hard economy, like roads, infrastructure. So some candidates stress the hard economy, we're going to build roads, bridges. Others stress the soft economy. which is like rules, regulations, policy, the way the courts work, and all that. So then the other one would be the blue economy, because in the blue economy, we have a lot of resources from the ocean resources right down to inland waterways. But most of the candidates are silent on this, and that's surprising, given the fact that Nigeria is looking for a lot of resources, and there's a lot of resources in the blue economy. Then you have the brown economy, which contains things like oil, manufacturing, agriculture. A lot of candidates mention this. But I thought what is missing is the linkage. You've got to bring them together. Because if you want to harness the Nigerian economy, you must pull together all of these, five. The other important reason why putting these five together is crucial is that we have about 150 million living on the fringe. So on the coastal communities, you have about 100 million. Then on the northern fringes, you have another 50 million. These guys are completely excluded. We have an economy that is essentially urbanized. So when governors or presidents speak, or the National Assembly speaks, they're actually talking about the urban economy. They exclude the coastal and the northern fringes that is carrying about 150 million Nigerians. No manifesto discusses this. So what will happen is a continuation of policy making around the center of Nigeria. I don't think that will bring about the necessary changes we are looking at. So I urge the candidates to, again, look at their manifestos with a view to, incorporating some of the things that will bring in the real Nigerians. And that's why we have unemployment. Because if you leave out half your population, then you will find urban unemployment. There will be a drift from the rural areas into the urban area. And when they come here, there are no jobs. So it's important that the candidates their manifestos to the fringes of Nigeria, because in those fringes is a lot of resources that can be tapped. In those fringes, a lot of resources, and when you tap it in, it improves the GDP. So it is crucial that the candidates go back and see how they can pull this in, because it will affect unemployment. If I become to take another look at this constitution so that we can reenact it under our We the People declaration. I don't think that will make him lose votes. I don't think so.
What would that entail? When we have to rework the constitution, there was a constitutional amendment process not long ago, and we saw how it's still ongoing, yes, but we saw how it panned out, especially when the women are concerned. Some bills or some proposals didn't fly. So when you say we are operating on an illegitimate constitution and we need to work it out, correct it, what exactly are we talking about? Do we suspend what we have?
No. The first question would be, do we have an illegitimate constitution? That's the starting point. And of course we do, because I hope you recall, Salam, no disrespect to him, but General Abdul Salam was the person who handed us a constitution in 1998. And that constitution said, we the people. And even Chief Williams has said, that cannot be correct, because we never sat in any conference to say we the people. So it was imposed on us. And a lot of Nigerians, particularly the sub-national groups, have challenged that proposition. So if it's causing problems, I would urge the presidential candidates to see whether it is something that they can resolve. That's number one. It may not go anywhere. Don't forget that these are simply suggestions. I would suggest that it might be something to look at. The second one that we assume is causing problem is not in fact causing any problem. It's not. The only problem is that the nomenclature of the discussion has not been properly put. And I blame those involved in the discussion. All that has been said about whether it is restructure or rebalancing or devolution of powers, the simple thing is the federal government is too strong when it controls exclusive 68 items of power. The federal government is also too strong when it controls the other 30, making 98. So that means that the federal government of its own has exclusive power to make laws. So the proposition has been put on the table in a very strong way by Afenifere, by their leader, that the federal government should give away power. Some say the words he uses are too strong, and those words are political restructuring, because there's a fear that restructuring means maybe Biafra or break up. But clearly, I don't think anyone suggests that restructuring means a breakup. It simply means the federal government, you're too strong, take the IG. It is inconceivable that one man can superintend over Nigeria. It's inconceivable. Therefore, what is wrong with the state police? There's nothing. But no candidate makes it very clear that this is going to be his agenda. Maybe because they feel that they may lose be. That's not my problem. But I say in a number of areas, the federal government should be very happy to give up power. Driving license. I think you all have driver's licenses, so you don't. But if you do have, and you look at it, you find it's issued by the federal government. What should the federal government be issuing federal licenses for? Nothing that should be local government job. For those of you who are married and those who intend to get married, you find that your marriage is governed by the federal government. Why? I got married under a federal government certificate, and I've been to court on the point, and I lost. But why must I be married under the federal government certificate? Why is it that if I have a relation that dies, I go to the National Population Commission to register it? What is the local government doing? What are the state government? So these are the simple, it's not a big issue, to be honest with you. This issue of restructure of the operational powers, it isn't. I agree that, unfortunately, Southern Nigerian politicians have not put the argument in the proper context. So it has put fear. It has put fear in northern Nigeria. But the candidate who seeks to unify Nigeria can explain it. Just the way I'm explaining, by using simple examples. Why do we have safety commission issuing driver's licenses and all that? So those are areas. There are more complex things that one can say, all right, maybe federal government. But there's so many things. I once visited the prison headquarters in Abuja. You know, in the army, if you're a general, you have command. But we have more controllers of prisons than prison commands. So you will find about 2,000 controllers sitting in Abuja doing nothing. But if you look at their budget, it's about 20-something billion. So how are you going to reduce? How are you going to reduce the expenditure? Now, what does the federal government need to control the prisons for when it has less than 2 or 3 prisoners? Nnamdi Kanu, I don't know of any other person. The bulk of prisoners are states. So it is state responsibility. And it ties up with the problem of delays. Because the states have no control over prisons, people just languish there. And the federal government keeps paying. And a couple of people now make it chop for themselves. So give it to those who will feel it. If prisons were the jurisdiction of a state, they won't keep prisoners there for nothing. They will say, why are these here? Why are we spending so much? But the federal government is not concerned. It has no prisoners. So every year it allocates. If the federal government is allocating 20-something trillion as its estimates, go and take a very close look at that budget. You will find 75% should be done by the states. And when it is done by the states, it will be done more efficiently. That's what this issue of rebalancing is. So I don't know why any candidate should, be shy to express this point.
The issue you raised on the political side,
Yes.
that's where I have concern for.
Which one?
The route you are addressing restructuring in local government. Considering the kind of National Assembly that we have, yes, we said the president that can if they can do it, but they need the National Assembly to achieve some of these things. And when you consider the trajectory of the National Assembly that we have, is it something? How are they going to manage it? Because somebody might get there and you discover that the National Assembly will be a stubborn bloc, even if the party has a majority in the House. How are they going to handle this kind of issue?
I don't follow. So what you're saying?
Yes, they might frustrate or even decide that, okay, we are going to restructure, we are going to that local government is efficient and even they can work on the constitution, but they need the National Assembly to achieve some of these things. If you look at the ongoing local government autonomy bill that is on, you know that some states are rejecting it. So it's beyond the presidential. Can I say, how are they going to handle it? In as much as some of these issues are beyond them.
I don't know if you followed American or UK politics. Some of the most impossible agendas are achieved, even under President Biden. At the time he started and set up his 3 major agendas, nobody believed they would pass. To be a Nigerian president means that you don't sit in Aso Rock. And that is partly why we discuss in this write-up the mistake Nigerian presidents have made in ceding control of legislation to the National Assembly. It's the other way around. So what we are calling for here is that presidential candidates should keep in mind the need to appoint not a PLO, presidential liaison officer, who just goes from Aso Rock to that, a director of legislative affairs. It is the president, and that's why President Buhari's statement that it is not his responsibility to amend the constitution is wrong. It is the president that drives a national agenda, no matter how difficult. And we've seen President Biden take difficult decisions and converts them to law. Obamacare, nobody gave it a chance. Nobody. But Obama said by the time he had finished with healthcare in America, there was only one woman that knew more about healthcare than himself. And when he made the argument, he persuaded the people. Who persuades the National Assembly here? Nobody. The National Assembly is a ragtag army of people who have no direction. That's the problem. So unless, you see, what the questions you are asking me suggest that you are satisfied with the status quo, but I'm not. That's the difference. So we need a president that can buck the horse, can say, no, I am president of Nigeria, and by virtue of my being president, I will have a legislative agenda on the following things. I know it's going to be difficult, it's not going to be easy, but that's why you have caucuses. But by the time I get my caucus to that caucus and they do the deals, I will have it passed. So I don't see the difficulty in a candidate who really wants to achieve putting this issue of amending the constitution or some of these smaller issues. I don't see what the problem is. Yes.
I want us to get you clearer.
Yes.
In the light of your earlier declaration that the constitution is illegitimate, are you favoring autonomous constitution or just mere amendment? Because to have autonomous constitution, let me clarify. To have autonomous constitution means there's going to be constituent assembly.
No,
or perhaps
no.
the ethnic personalities will come together.
You are wrong.
So how do you go about it?
No, the first thing to do is to put it on your agenda. That's the first thing I'm saying. It must be on your agenda. If you want to be candidate and become president, you cannot run away from the political framework of Nigeria. How can you? You can then we shall now 2023 will be the same thing.
So what do you favor? Autonomous or amendment?
No, it's not me. Don't put it on me. I'm just raising.
You have your opinion.
No. I'm not here to raise my opinion. I'm here to point out that a candidate ought to address this very serious issue of, do we just continue to amend the constitution, or do we start afresh and create an autochthonous constitution? What exactly do we do? That's what I'm saying, because I was on the constitutional conference of Jonathan. I knew it was going to go nowhere, which is why me and Tunde Bakare said, we're here, but we're not taking your money. Only two of us did not accept the 12 million. Only two of us. Hope you know that.
Yes.
Only, you didn't know. Only two of us did not accept.
What do you need there?
What about others who? No, what about others? What about others who took?
So let me ask this question.
Yes.
Now, I have observed that at each election cycle, or when they swear in a new president, you always come up with this maritime, blue, this thing and all, blue economy and all. And each time you just raise these issues, the government will come, the way you won't look into it. And now you have raised the issue again. Another issue that you have raised is Abu Salami. I remember watching Abu Salami on Arise one day, and he said, people are saying that I gave people this institution, I gave people this constitution, they're not your own now.
I agree with you.
Your own. Why can't they just sit down and come up with a document?
Yes.
If the one that I give you, you have not even implemented it,
Yes.
you don't even obey it,
Yes.
then enact your own.
Absolutely.
And but does that not come to the issue of the political class not always wanting to just sit down and agree on
Leadership.
the other one? My last question.
Yes.
My last question is that you see it's only article that
I will clear.
I will devote power. I will want state police. And but people and sometimes when I listen to Tinubu, even with the incoherence and all, I just imagine this is a man that is even from the Yoruba race, that is even behind this restructuring, devolution of power. He's not even mentioning it. He's not saying anything. Either he's in the south or he's in the north. He's not saying anything. And you are raising this issue.
Presidential cabinet doesn't believe it.
You see the quagmire. You see the quagmire. Obi is not even saying anything about state police. He's not. His own is just that will make the economy big.
No, he said it.
It's a quagmire that we have found out.
He even mentioned local government police. He break it down well.
But see, so that we put this, media chat in it. It's not to question why they are doing what they are doing. It's to point out what they can do that may be of benefit. So I will assume maybe when they did a manifesto, for instance, in fairness to them, the issue of multidimensional poverty had not come out. So they may say, oh, okay, that's a good point. So it's just interrogating what they've done in line with the issues we've raised here. And for them to say, maybe there are some issues that we need to reconsider, because we all agree that but maybe we don't all agree. But my own position about the Nigerian president is that he's the guy that, if he understands the power of his job, can get things done. In spite of what you think may be difficulties, he can get it done. If you look at the APC committee's report, I think El-Rufai chaired it. It was a straightforward report. They accepted what do you call it, restructuring, but it got tangled in politics. Now, if I would like to be a president for one reason: I understood compromise and inclusion. I understood it. Compromise and inclusion. These are the two vital elements. So what I think has gone wrong with restructuring is not the idea, is the way the argument played out that created divisions. El-Rufai has always said that restructuring is a good thing, because I hope you know that a lot of the governors don't even understand the constitution. So they are waiting for power devolution to create electricity, what do you call it now? Distribution in, whereas the constitution says you can do it. So what we're looking for is leadership at the gubernatorial and presidential level. And that person who wants to be leader must understand that to be leader is to carry a cross. It's not a tea party. It's not a tea party. You're not going to be president of Nigeria and think it will be easy. You're going to take tough decisions. And when you take those decisions, you will have to convince everybody because you're president of Nigeria. You put something on the table and say, look, I think this is best. You call all the governors, for instance, let's have a discussion. Or, okay, let me ask, who has ever called? Because I agree entirely with Professor Wabeze that the Nigeria are actually the sub-ethnic nationalities. So, for instance, NBA president being invited to national conference, who do I represent? I don't represent any ethnic nationality. So why is it, Wabeze is asking, that it hasn't occurred to anybody in leadership to say, before amalgamation, you are the Emperor of Benin, you are the Oyo Empire, you are this, that, and these, they are strong today, they're still here. Why don't you call them for discussion? Why don't you say, how do you see Nigeria? Nobody has done that. So I challenge these, current candidates to be able to see that some of what appears to be difficult challenges are not. Just you've got to do it in the right way. I've read very carefully the issue of power devolution. Not a single state governor is against it. Not one. It's the way it's presented as the problem. So a Nigerian president must be able to pull people together. And we are in such a state of divide that I feel that our candidates ought to understand that to become president successfully, task is unity. That's the first task. Because if we all get ourselves united, then we'll solve a lot of the problems. So I would urge the candidates to look at that. One of the candidates speaks strongly about that in his manifesto. I urge all candidates to take that very seriously. And then on the issue of security, I've read a lot of the manifestos of the candidates. As a space law expert, I don't understand how the Nigerian government cannot deal with that forest. The forest, you know it now. Yes. We have NASTRA. We have NASTRA. We have the Indian Ocean island of Diego Garcia. Do you know about it? That
in collaboration with our.
No. I'm just giving another example. Now, this Indian Ocean island of Diego Garcia is the United States naval, is the largest naval presence of the US outside of the US. From time to time, they do reconnaissance. The KH-111 overflies the entire Africa. We look in 1 minute, they have a situation report. 7 a.m., the American president is seeing a report of the world national intelligence estimates of every country. So if we have NASTRA sitting in Abuja, if we have nice ComSat sitting in Abuja, if we have drones, why is it so difficult to understand what goes on in this amazing thing? No candidate mentions how satellite technology will be applied in resolving insecurity.
No.
Yes.
Let me go into the yes. When we say some of these things, I think we are cleaner. We know, and you know why it is so.
I don't know.
It's the political will.
To deploy a drone.
One government official told us how they were monitoring someone in their house in Abuja from where he took off from his house to when he boarded the aeroplane.
Yes.
So that means anybody can train you from here to wherever you go.
Absolutely, I agree.
So it's not a difficult thing. The government knows.
Why are they not doing anything?
This service chiefs, they are saying this thing they have with creditors, open ear discourse every quarter, once every quarter. So these questions are asked. Then we come to discover that there is no anything. It's not as if they don't know that
of leadership.
something can be done today to end this. So some people are feeling very bad.
But we're talking about 2023. That's the
They
difference.
themselves don't want to go there, just like my brother.
No. I would disagree. I would not be this. I would not be this pessimistic. I will not be this. Because if we are going to adopt this pessimistic attitude, then the country is finished. That's the meaning. If we're going to, because it means that the conclusions of 2023 is just another election. But I don't want to take that view. I don't want to take the view that 2023, whether that somebody comes in, he will say, well, I shall continue to do the same. I hope, which is partly why this has been done, that a candidate that is on ground today of whatever party will put together an agenda that resolves Nigeria's instability, disunity, insecurity. Because if he doesn't do that, he can't go to the main work of the economy. And that's why I talked about the political economic, nature, that it's fragile. So I would hope that we have candidates that would be hopeful to say, we get there, I will shock them to show that can be resolved. That I think is what Nigerians want really. Nigerians are looking, there's a sense of frustration and despondency that I've never seen. I'm sure you agree with that. And therefore, whoever becomes president in 2023 will benefit from information, such as what we're putting out now, that would make it easy for him. And he might say, oh, really? I mean, it's that simple. So what was the problem? So, well, it was what you are alluding to. But we hope those factors will not play a role in Nigeria's governance framework in 2023. Because if it does, well, you guys are nearer on this side. I would just go home to my village.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Doc, your presentation began on the line of inability of most of these candidates to link these situations together. And I think we'll be doing them a lot of good if you set the pace. The ultimate goal of this document is said to probably end multidimensional poverty, as you have. You've mentioned some factors. Let's break it down further. How does all of this, how will it help end this multi-dimensional poverty? Because the illegitimate constitutions and every other issues you highlighted, how does it come out to this? That is, we linking them together for them.
Yeah, simple. So, president gets into office in Aso Rock on what day? May 29th. So he says, what do I do? So, all right, I've gotten into office. So you're all my advisors. You say, the first thing to do is there's a lot of grumbling about the constitution. I say, how? So we agree. Then I'll call the structures. I'll persuade the governors that this is a big issue. Because the task, how do I put it now? I've seen Obama recently. He looks in his 70s. With age, when you become president of America, the burden crushes you. When you become president in Africa, you get fatter and rosy. Why? Because just like Professor Patrice Lumumba said yesterday, they don't. I hope you heard what he said. And I was so happy I watched it from start to finish, even though I had a terrible cold. He was talking to the powers that be, telling them in a very subtle manner. And now you are the guys who eat $5,000 breakfast. Telling them about the old people of Kwame Nkrumah and what's his name, Nyerere and Kawunda, and all these old people who had a moral compass. He told them all. I hope they understood it. And he was saying that Nigeria is the leader. So what he was really saying is exactly what I'm saying. That if we stick to the old and say, it can be done. And I don't think we'll go anywhere, which is why we should have a lot of faith that the youngsters between 16 and 34 constitute 60 to 70% of the voting population. And they will understand this. They're not going to understand why Zamplese is a problem. You may understand it because deals are done, but they're not going to understand it. So the hope is that when whoever gets in as president gets in, he will say, you know what I have to do is to resolve this political disunity. That's to your question. Having resolved it, he's going to then say, the main purpose of government is the security of people, their liberty is guaranteed, but most important, prosperity. The American constitution uses that word. So how can people prosper if you have 133 million Nigerians in poverty? If you have about 20-something million, what do you call them? Out of school. And the other statistic that I saw that day, very shocking. 5 children die every minute in Nigeria. 199 million Nigerians have never seen a doctor. Wouldn't that disturb if you're a president? So you then say, what do I have to do? It means I can't be the president of health. I need to devolve power to the states and also to the local government, because if local government will have health, basic health care, how can, so I just put it in my head. So what happens in this local government when there's a woman that is sick? So that's what should concern the president. That's what should concern the president, that he is reaching out. Now, for him to reach out, he needs resources. And I've mentioned that we actually have resources, but we don't know where. Look, I did a case for AMCON, and we had this, how many years is it empty now? Going to 40 years, the Federal Secretariat. The Federal built the East-West Bridge, the East-West Road, just 1 billion I'm naming. The federal government has well over 15 trillion landed property that they have no idea where it is. No idea. On the books of Murphy, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, this humongous asset called the Nigerian Railway Corporation is valued at 20 million. How can that be? How can that be? Come on. So we're looking for somebody who, if he emerges, will understand that I'm here in 4 years, I'm not going to look like this, because I'll be battered by worries. Can't sleep because I'm thinking of Nigeria. That's why American presidents grow gray hair. You can't go there and become a young man. You age. So that's the sort of president that I hope the manifestos that we're reviewing will throw up. So the simple point is, if there are things that you find useful here, use them for free. Not charge anybody anything.
So if that's the case,
Yes.
is this an office that a sick people or a sick man should go into?
If what is the case?
If what you're saying now, that the presidency of America is the place where people go and get old overnight because of the overwhelming. So in our own case, is our presidency a place where somebody who is sick should go to?
I mean, in body and health.
Both mentally and bodily.
So I think that a Nigerian president who understands the job ahead ought to have medically certified energy to do the job. Otherwise, how can you? If you're in bed all the time, you can't do the job. It requires a lot of energy. So I would hope that.
They say we have technocrats around.
I didn't say anything.
No, are you referring to a particular candidate?
But okay,
Yes.
you rejected that you are not a member of the elite club.
I'm not.
We agree with you,
Yes.
but you are a Nigerian citizen.
Sure.
Highly interested.
One meeting.
Highly interested in good governance.
Yes, as you know.
I know that one for sure. And you are opinion leader.
Are there any comments there? Ola? Any? Because we. Okay.
You are opinion leader too.
Yes.
You won't deny that. Now, having examined the trajectory of the election process and the candidates in this dispensation, You look at all of them. You have seen the manifesto of some of them too, gone through. Who do you think inspires more hope for Nigerians among the candidates?
No, that's not the purpose of my.
I know it's not the purpose, but this is a question that
I refuse to answer it. Because to answer it defeats the purpose. Defeats the purpose. It means I'm campaigning.
Yes.
I understand what you're saying, and that's my personal choice. I know, but you can't. Yeah.
It's too small.
Yes. Anybody? Others are done. Yes. Yes.
So you've got this out,
Yes.
saying these are the big issues. Some people think this is status quo. It's going to happen like it happened before 2019, 2015.
You mean the elections?
Yes. And what about the timeline for when they get into office? Whoever gets into office, 1 year, 2 year, is not doing the right thing, we get him out or her out. How about strengthening that?
Yeah, it's here. So what we said would be, which is difficult, because not many people in the world can be John the Baptist, diminished himself. What we recommend, and I took this from Professor Benwabeze, the Nigerian president is far too strong. It's far too strong. So there's a need for the Nigerian president in reorganizing the constitution to play a role in limiting his own powers. Whether that is too theoretical is another question, but that is part of what we discuss in the document. So I'm Minister, I'm Attorney General, and you Millicent, you bring along a great idea, and I take it personally because I say also by your suggestion you question my stay in office, but 4 years down the line I'm no longer there. So that's the problem. People don't understand how to separate their own persona when they're in office from what will be. Take our great IBB, still a respected statesman, but sometimes I wonder if, although he denies, if he did not annul the election, when he left after being in office for about 8 years, he would be a great hero.
Sure.
Eventually he lost. And that's the problem. People don't understand when to leave. People don't understand when to leave. Look at African presidents. The man who started very well in Uganda, going to 40 years. Look at the man in Togo. After the murder of it was the first coup in Africa when they murdered Sylvanus Olympio. Only 2 families have been there. They had them as. How can that be? So it's this impunity that keeps us down. And that's what I'm saying to the candidates, that it will be to your eternal glory if you go in with a robust manifesto that is able to achieve the sorts of things you say in your manifesto and every other good point. One of which would be that you are a president with limited powers, not a president that can do anything, because a president can do anything is not an elected president. He becomes a demagogue, a monarch. So it's time we had a democratically elected president. It's part of and it's not easy. It's not easy because I know that many presidents start out very well, but they then they turn around to become, demagogues. They ride big cars, they fly around, in all kinds of presidential aircraft. That's not what we want, right? Personally, that's not what I want. So I hope that this process will produce a president who will truly be interested in eliminating or reversing these poverty issues we have discussed today. We just have to have someone who can do that. Otherwise, it'll just be next 4 years would be 2027, at which point you're all certainly well into your 40s and 50s. And you'll be joining me in the decline of Nigeria. Yes. Because I remember when I started, although my hair wasn't this bold, but when I started, I was 29. So I'm now on the other side of midnight. So I can talk freely without anyone holding me to ransom because I belong to nobody. I belong to nobody. So that's why I reject the title of being a political elite. If I was a political elite, certainly will not be sitting here.
It's true. Yeah.